Welcome to Art Bazaar, a podcast that chats with artists of all types to explore the depths of creativity, brought to you by the Alternative Gallery. We'll be releasing new episodes every Wednesday, with bonus episodes dropping randomly. If you like what you're hearing, you can support this podcast by going to thealternativegallery.com and clicking on the podcast tab. I'm your host, Brandon Wonder, Creative Director of the Alternative Gallery, a non-profit arts organization in Allentown, PA, run through the efforts of dedicated volunteers. And on this episode of Art Bazaar, we'll be chatting with Brandon Dominguez, an Allentown-based multimedia artist with a unique pop art twist. Not just limited to canvas or digital work, Brandon also creates animated and AR works. To see what I'm talking about, you can check out Brandon's work on Instagram at brandondm.art. And Brandon will also be hosting a one-night pop-up solo art show here at the Alternative Gallery on Wednesday, December 13th from 6 to 9 p.m. called Sulcus. Brandon Dominguez, welcome to the Art Bazaar.
Hell of an intro.
Thank you. Thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me, man.
This is going to be a gathering of the Brandons.
Yeah. Brandon and Brandon. How you doing?
I'm doing well, man. So what's going on? Any fun updates going on with the artwork right now? I know you're preparing for the show.
Yeah, I'm super excited. Just before we started, I was just taking pictures of the venue and, last details on where I want everything and where everything's going to hang. We're going to have some guest artists. It's going to be awesome. I'm really excited.
It's all coming together?
Yeah, it definitely is. The thing about starting projects like this, usually I start a series of paintings and everything connects together thematically. So this time I'm very excited for everyone to see, because I'm going to bring out more of that contemporary artist in me and be a little more exposed with the emotions for this series of paintings. So I'm really excited.
So I know we dropped the Instagram link to your work there at the beginning in the intro. For those who might not have seen your work, how would you describe it?
I would describe it as contemporary pop art meets cartoons, and definitely it's pop. There's a lot of pop to it. It's very contemporary because I use a lot of vibrant colors, color palettes that are very modern that you see, frequently out there. But it also all started with rubber hose style cartoons, 1930s, 1940 rubber hose cartoons. So it started there, and then I started to find myself there. So yeah, I would describe it as very fun, vibrant, and appealing to everyone.
Were you always inspired by those old 30s cartoons, or is that more of an adulthood attraction?
It was more of an adult thing.
Yeah?
I've always been a guy that likes cartoons. I grew up with them. I think I had the best period of time for cartoons, like the late 90s Cartoon Network and Nickelodeon. And, now that I'm older, I started to see the value in the old cartoons and how that impacted all of the media that we consume nowadays. So
I think we mentioned this before in a conversation with each other, but Cuphead, you like that game, right?
Hell yeah. It's so good.
It's so hard.
The art style is so impressive. What took me away, because I love video games, but what was very, very, very impressive is to see the art style and how they animated like old school with the cells.
Yeah, they nailed it. Even the movements of the characters, it matched so well with the jumpy frames that they had back then, and the repetitive nature of the animation to save themselves time. You always see the mouse of the character jumping up and down. Yeah.
And difficult, really, really difficult.
Incredibly difficult.
But fun, rewarding.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was very impressive. Definitely Cuphead for those that are into gaming or animation even. That's a good thing to check out.
Yeah, if you want to enjoy yourself and also be infuriated at the same time, it's a perfect game for you.
Yeah, just get that rage out of there.
It's hard to piss someone off and inspire them simultaneously.
I know, so it's weird.
Props to the creators of that game.
But it's also that going into the video game area, it's like the old Mario games. You would have to play that over and over and over to learn the full.
It's not just skill based, but it's also part of it is memorization.
Yeah, and then once you complete it, it's really rewarding.
So what are some of the games that you grew up with?
I grew up playing. Well, my approach was the GameCube, the Nintendo GameCube. That was my first console.
Wow.
At Christmas season, and I got the GameCube. And my first game that I ever played there was Super Smash Bros. That was That was my holy grail growing up.
Amazing. So were you a big fan of Zelda Wind Waker?
Not really.
No?
No. I think like I got too late into the game Nintendo, and it was too much Mario, and I never got into Zelda. Now even that I'm older, like I can't get into it.
You never really dipped your toes in the Zelda water?
I tried, but it's not for me.
Hey,
it's not for me.
Understandable, but they are rich in thematics and just gameplay. I mean, some of the best of all time.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, a lot of that comes into play, for inspiration with my art also.
What kind of games do you play modern day, like now?
Well, nowadays, Spider-Man 2, oh my God, that game's so good.
PS5?
Yeah.
I need one so bad.
Dude, it's so good. I grew up with Spider-Man.
Sure.
Spider-Man 2002, I was all about that movie.
Sam Raimi.
Up. Yes. Oh my God. That was my movie. And then the game came out. I played on GameCube. I couldn't complete the game because it was too hard for me as a child. So now growing up, being able to play as Spider-Man again and complete it, and that game, that's for me game of the year 2023.
So I haven't had a chance to play it yet, but from what I hear and see, it's incredible.
Yeah, it's really good.
And so you've already completed the game, the main story, but you're still playing through it.
Yeah,
a lot of replayability.
It's so good. It's
So what do you, now that you've beaten it, what do you find yourself doing?
I know this sounds repetitive, and everyone online saying this, but you feel like you're Spider-Man. Like I'm just like swinging around. I'm not even doing anything because I completed the game 100%, but I'm just like swinging around, and it feels fun.
But that's a sign of a good game, because another one that I can point to that's a similar idea, a similar approach is GTA 5.
Yes.
You just load that game
up.
That
open world.
You don't need to play missions. You just drive around, switch the radio stations. I mean, that game is just so artistic, and watching the sunsets from a cliff or a mountain and seeing the whole landscape change.
So much fun. You don't have to do a mission or...
Yeah. It was two games that really saved me during the pandemic. It was GTA 5 and Ghost of Tsushima.
Okay.
I'm a huge Japanese nerd, and I love everything Japan. So to be able to play medieval Japan as a samurai, open world, was like, oh my God.
Have you played the second one?
Tsushima?
Yeah, I think there's a second
No, they
one.
did. They haven't even announced the second one yet, but they had the expansion where they...
That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, so they added the second island, which I did not get around to playing that, unfortunately. But as Game of Thrones would say, winter is coming. Yeah. And when winter rolls around, I tend to play more games. Unless we have a shit ton of snow and I'm outside around the building here at the gallery clearing all the snow. Because I don't know, I feel like there's so much more going on, and I feel a little more guilty trying to play games in the summer. Not that I won't, but my schedule for some reason just doesn't allow it. So winter, I feel like it's more built into our nature to slow down and stay inside and just take it easy. And, like we talked with Andy on the last episode here of the podcast, Andy from who lives in Portland now, and just hearing the comparison of how it is in Portland and out west, the slow way of living and take it easy, chilling out. So the East Coast of like everyone's constantly in a hurry, and we seem to always be pissed off at each other. I mean, it takes 0.2 seconds for anyone to get road rage if you don't like hit the gas pedal as soon as the light turns green. It's just
everyone's rushing and mad.
Yeah, I'm tired of that pace of life. I was a New Yorker for almost 6 years, and before moving right back here to Allentown, I like the idea of that slower pace of life. And weirdly enough, in the last few years, especially since the start of the pandemic, I have longed for bad weather. Because when there's bad weather, people stay the fuck home.
Yeah.
And they're not driving like maniacs.
Yeah, that's true.
Their
We're
windows...
forced to do something at home.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's like I've gotten to a point now where I pray for bad weather just for some peace and quiet some days. And I think I need to get out of town more, which is kind of what we're trying to do.
Yeah, we're all trying to do that. But
yes.
Going back to what you said, what helped me through COVID was art. For me, it was discovering myself as an artist. I don't know. When you mentioned that, it like brought me back to...
No, that's great. So that's when you kind of started focusing more on your artwork?
Yeah, that helped me a lot. It was me and my wife. We were just at home all day. And I've always been very interested and passionate about art. Since I was a kid, like I would watch The Simpsons and I would watch all of these cartoons and movies and stuff, and I would try to redraw them, So that was my thing. My parents always told me like, you're good at that, because I would like have a poster in my room, and I would redraw it and color it and everything, and they would be very impressed with that. So with COVID, it was like, okay, I can do this again, because a year prior to that, I started to do the same thing I used to do as a kid. I would be inspired by a movie and look at the scene or a model or something and redraw it. But I would try to do it as accurate as possible and realistic, and shadows and all of this crazy detail.
Was that like a challenge to yourself to do that?
Kinda, but I'm also like very perfectionist at times. So in the beginning, yes, it was like, I have to do this as accurate as possible. I started sharing it online and everything, but it was more of a hobby. I wasn't thinking of building a career around it. So yeah, I started like drawing Rocko's Modern Life and Spider-Man again, and it's fun. And then in the pandemic, my wife was like, what if we paint something? So we would watch Bob Ross and we would try to recreate it.
Nice.
And it's like, oh shit, this is fun actually, grab a paintbrush. And then after that, I started to make my own paintings. And then after that, I started to find my own style. And then after that, it all started happening. So
that's awesome, man. So the pandemic, you were one of those people where the pandemic actually offered you a chance to kind of go in a new direction. Yep. Not just pause your life and do something waiting to get back to what you were doing before. That's kind of almost fate would have it, that you started doing that about a year before the pandemic, and then here you are stuck with nothing. Hey, what else am I going to do?
Yeah.
Right? That's amazing. So I imagine your parents are very happy and supportive of what you're doing now.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's also weird because it's not a thing in our families. I hear the podcast and all your guests, like my mom was an artist and my dad was this, and they taught in school art, So for me, like the background of my family was never that. It was always like they go to their jobs, or maybe they had a business, and that was it. So
yeah, I'm the same way, man. There's no real artist in my family except for my cousin. Him and I are 8 days apart. He's great at drawing. He's great at graffiti. Great at DJing and mixing and even breakdancing. Aside from him, there's no real artists in my family. So I feel you.
Yeah, it's same here. Maybe the creative part of me comes from my grandpa. I've always said this because he was not an artist, but he was a very creative person where he had multiple jobs and he would do all of these things that didn't make sense that he would do at the same time. Like he was a pilot, but he also had a radio show and he also worked things that maybe don't make a lot of sense, but it's kind of cool. Like, he didn't just sit in one thing,
Wow.
So I'm kind of the same way.
I vibe with that too. I'm the same way. I need those different things. I'm wondering, and I'm sure it's a no, did he ever do a broadcast while he was flying?
I don't know. He did have a kids radio show. So he had like a whole character. He would play kids songs and like a little talk show. And he even had like records, and he would give them away where he lived. And yeah,
was this like on the radio?
Yeah, I'm from Mexico, so this was back in Mexico. Yeah,
that's incredible. What was the name of the radio station, if you remember?
I don't remember. I do remember his character's name was Tío Emilio, which is like Uncle Emilio type thing. So everyone in the street like knew him as that, and my dad would tell me like they'd be out and the kids would like yell his name, and
so he was a little famous then.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah,
wow.
In Acapulco, that's where we're from. That's where he was from. That's where I was born. So yeah. Do
you remember any art as a kid from Mexico that you saw?
Not specifically, no, because again, that was not a background for me. Like religious family, Renaissance paintings here and there.
A lot of religious art.
Religious
the Mother
art,
Mary.
Exactly. But no. I don't come from an artist background. I'm just very creative and curious. I'm a very curious person.
As I feel artists should be.
Yeah.
The experimental nature.
It's a natural thing for us artists.
Absolutely. I think humans in general, but I think artists are a little more focused on exploring that.
Yeah.
Because we have an outlet that makes sense for us to explore things. So you seem to not be a product of your environment then.
No, not at all. It was more of a self-exploring and curiosity thing where I liked the idea of creating something, and then I found myself being very connected to what I was creating. And then I was able to express what I was feeling and all of these ideas that by nature I have. I'm always thinking about space, and I'm always thinking about our emotions, and I'm thinking about conscious, and I'm thinking about music, and I'm thinking all of these things all at once. So it's nice to have that output to express that and communicate what you're thinking with other people.
So do you feel like being an artist makes sense? Like you're on the right path? It all kind of makes sense now?
Yeah, absolutely. Because even growing up, I was never in school. I was not focused about school. Like I would be doodling in the back of the class, or I would be doing jokes with my friends, or skipping school and classes and stuff. So I never saw myself in like corporate or a business per se, because I was always very curious. And then as a teenager, I kind of explored that a little bit because my friends started to do photography, started to do paintings, we started to do this. We even had a band and music and play the guitar. So I started to have that creative output. And then you grow up and it's like, oh, wait, I need to go to college.
Yeah.
And I need a job. And
yeah.
Then you kind of...
The real world.
Yeah.
Yeah, real job in the real world, right? No, it's... You know, and I think pretty much everyone agrees that the public education system needs to be overhauled. And I feel like the people that work within it feel that way more strongly than anybody else. So it's not working for some kids, and I feel it's totally wrong for artists. Everything you're just saying about not paying attention and just messing around and wanting to hang out and joke with friends, exact same thing I went through. I despised school. I couldn't stand it. It was torture.
I didn't like it.
I'm almost 40 years old. I still literally have stress dreams about not remembering my locker combination, can't find my classrooms first day. Like, still to this day, it was like torture to me. Now I think it's a little bit better because we have charter schools, charter art schools. Those are designed for people like us. Like, I needed something like that when I was coming up through school, but it wasn't a thing.
Yeah.
So public schools, like, just know if you got some artists, it's not where they want to be. So just be patient with them, do what you can, but we need these environments. Now, you know, this is maybe jumping ahead in the conversation, but I'm curious, do you think it's important for artists to surround themselves with creative people?
Oh, it's really important because, you know, it's fun to be in your own head and in your own creative space and deal with all of these things that you have in mind. But being surrounded by other creative people can be very inspiring. And you can collaborate with all of these other people, even if your style is different or even if they make art that doesn't necessarily go in tune with what you do. Sometimes doing that type of work with other artists can be very rewarding, not even to make money, just to create something with someone else and bounce off all of these ideas is super important. So having a spot like this, having somewhere for a small city like the Alternative Gallery is very important.
Well, and I'm glad you found it, and I'm glad it's working for you.
Interestingly, during COVID, when I was like really like, okay, I'm going to do this for real, and this is my career now, and got to focus on this. Looking into galleries, I found the Alternative Gallery, and I saw that there was going to be an art show in 2020. I was like, oh shit, I got to try. And it was like, nope, everything's closed.
Yeah.
But you guys were like the first gallery I found.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad it worked out during the pandemic and that you were able to link up with us. And I think, where was the first place we crossed paths? Was it at Playback?
Yep. Yeah.
That was the one that was up in Albertus.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was
like this vintage event and vendors and artists.
I spent a ton of money at that one. I bought
so much. That was fun.
I just kept taking trips out of the car with all my stuff. Yeah, just going around. And then we both vended the next one over at, where was it, over Kutztown? At Renninger's.
Yeah.
That was awesome. I'm glad there's events like that, especially now that Double Decker Records is closing and there's no record stores at all here in Allentown. So now more than ever, we're going to be relying on thrift stores and certain types of events like Playback in order for people like me, at least, to scratch that itch and get these records. Because, look, I buy stuff online, especially from Discogs. I'm a big Discogs user. I have my collections on there. I have my want list, but I like buying stuff in person. And I was having this conversation with an artist earlier today who I was actually doing prints for. He was aware of Double Decker Records, and he was really bummed that they were closing. He was having a conversation like, yeah, because records are so cool now, you go to thrift stores or even flea markets, people are selling records that are $1 or $3 for $15 because they think everything's worth that now.
Yeah.
I was like, that's why Double Decker was great. They were not doing what everyone else does and just going, oh, this is the price on eBay, here it is. This is the thing. If you own a store and you sell something at eBay price, I don't really have any reason to come to your store. I can sit at home and order on my phone and not have to go out there. Double Decker Records, they're selling $15 records for like $5 because they're making profit on it, and they know they got 5,000 records coming the next week. So their whole goal is to move things out that door. And because of that, you had great incentive to go to the store. And because of that, people not only traveled from around the United States to come to it, people came from other countries and would buy huge amounts of records and take them back to their country, either for their personal collection or to resell.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Doesn't that tell you like how I dabble in balance everything is cool? Because I know that artists sometimes tend to, no, I'm not going to do digital work, or I'm not going to do this and social media and NFTs and all of this stuff. It's kind of cool. I personally agree that there should be a balance.
Sure.
Why not? But when it comes to physical media, it's important that we keep that history.
For sure.
Because
man.
I myself, I don't have records. I don't collect them, but I understand the importance of it.
Yeah, I mean, you can get everything online now. You can go on YouTube and listen to any song, pretty much, which is
I
great.
like that.
It's great to have, but for me, like if I see a movie I really like, I have to have it for my collection. Even if I don't watch it for years and years, to know that it's sitting there, that I own a copy, that if my internet is down or whatever is the case, hey, I still got a copy of it right there. You know, and for me, it's no different than a book sitting on a shelf. And frankly, I think Kindles are cool, but I don't want to read a book on that.
Right.
I want to hold the book in my hand. I want to feel the progress of the pages I've already passed through. I want to smell that book, especially if it's a used copy. It's just like you can't help but think about, with a used book, what life it lived before it ended up in your hands.
Right. Again, I kind of like the balance of that. Same with films. You know, it's great to be able to go on any streaming service and find all of these movies. And you can find awesome movies that you wouldn't have otherwise, you know.
For sure, yeah.
But it's really cool to go sometimes to your attic and then you find this DVD and it's like, oh my God, look at this movie. I haven't seen this in so long, you know, and you can't find it anywhere, but it's, you know, it's a different feeling. So
I agree. And, you know, I spent a lot of time, especially on this podcast, bashing some streaming like Spotify. Look, I love streaming. I love the technology behind streaming. I just think these companies are extremely greedy. And I think they've created this model that is so convenient that most people don't even consider any other method. And because of that, artists have kind of been forced to adapt to these new ways where they're not selling physical copies and they're trying to survive off online streams. And that's not working. Okay, if this is a new norm where everyone's going to stream and no one's going to buy physical media, well, first of all, I don't like that at all because I've made it clear many times in the past how important physical media is to me, but they're not going to make any money. How are they supposed to survive as an artist?
Because it just goes through layers and layers and layers of different corporations and stuff. And
well, I love technology. I love it. But I think sometimes we have to realize when something's working and when something's not.
Yeah, that's true.
And especially for musicians, streaming is not working. It's a great marketing tool. The marketing itself isn't what's putting money in your pocket. Spotify pays 0.003 cents per stream. You need 3,330 streams to bring in the same amount of income as one CD you would sell at a show for $9.99.
Oh, wow.
3,330.
That puts it in perspective.
Yes. As much as I listen to music, I mean, we're in my office. We're surrounded by music. I just dropped over $200 of Double Decker today. There is not one piece of music in this room that I've listened to over 3,000 times. The average listener is never going to listen to a song or an album 3,000 times plus. So when you start seeing that perspective, you're like, okay, well, this artist is never going to make a living off of this.
Right.
And then even Weird Al made a video yesterday. I don't know if you saw it. Where he said he had over 80 million streams last year or this year on Spotify because like the year the end reviews everyone's doing. And he goes, yeah, so that's about the equivalent of $12. I guess I can go get myself a nice sandwich in a restaurant. He's like, thanks for the sandwich, Spotify.
Wow.
Everyone's like cracking up about it because it's like, not that
I didn't know that. That's crazy.
Everyone's bashing Spotify right now as they should because that company, they should be paying out a lot more. You know they're not paying out 0.003 cents to the huge artists because they actually have managers and lawyers and A&R reps that are seeing to it they're getting paid more, but these little independent guys, yeah, here you go. So that's something we need to change. And I think the best way to change something like Spotify is boycotting it.
Yeah.
And, you know, if artists don't start getting more royalties, as I think they should be referred to as, I think they should go elsewhere.
Yeah, but I do believe that things are changing because I see that with younger generations, they're starting to appreciate the value of that. Because my nephew, he's 12 and he's starting to have a collection of records, you know, and that's awesome. And again, there should be a balance. With music, it's a different realm, like completely different. Same with film. But when it comes to us traditional artists, I feel like it's cool to have that balance. It's okay to do, when it was like a thing to do NFTs. I don't see it as, holy shit, why are you doing this?
Yeah, I liked NFTs. I like the ideas of NFTs a lot. I just hate that it was tied only to crypto.
Right. And then
I
you
didn't
have
like
like
that.
corporate that started to, like buy this thing. You will get a little token.
You had the crypto bros, the real estate
Yeah,
bros. They got to
and then-
treat everything like a stock and run into the ground. And I'll tell you why I like NFTs so much, because someone that's only a digital-based artist, it makes their art more tangible. And
Exactly.
kind of in the similar way that prints make digital
Exactly.
art tangible. I like that. I like the fact you could assign certain rules so that, say, every time your NFT sells, the original creator, you, the artist, gets a cut. I like that because you're not getting that with a painting,
Exactly.
the original painting, unless there's a very stiff contract in place that's being upheld and honored. But come on, the art world, I don't think they're doing that. They're trying to find every loophole to not do that stuff. You can't do that with NFTs. And another rule you can assign with NFTs is something like the first person that bought the NFT can also get a cut. So it is incentive for people to support artists early on in their careers.
Exactly.
I like that. And the other thing, and probably the biggest thing that I like about NFTs, is that you can actually assign a physical asset to it. And what I think NFTs should be used for in the art world is essentially a certificate of authenticity, stating that this NFT is the certificate for this physical asset, this piece of art, and all those rules I listed can still be in place. And there you go. Then you own something.
For all of those smaller artists, he just dropped a great idea. Like, that's a great idea.
And you know what? And I'm not afraid of anyone.
And I've done it. It's great.
I'm not afraid of anyone stealing that idea. I wish that's how it was utilized. But then, like, when NFTs were first coming out and it was on the fence, I was like, okay, it sounds like an interesting idea, but so did crypto at the beginning. Like, what happened with that? Like, don't get me wrong. You can still lose and make money on crypto, but that's not where the intrigue is for me. It's like, what societal impact does it have?
Exactly.
And for me, I have obviously a larger focus on the arts. And I saw all these people. I would go to these NFT like Facebook groups and chat pages and stuff like that. And they were like, oh, hey, I'm a non-artist and I don't know anything about NFTs. How do I make 10,000 NFTs of art?
Yeah.
I'm like, wait, so you've never made art? So you're trying to learn both about NFTs and how to be an artist all of a sudden. So they were treating it like trading cards. It was automatically cheapened.
Yeah.
Like,
and it's what's happening now with AI and artists. Like these people that are calling themselves AI artists.
Yeah, you're hacks.
And it's, wait, what? And
you're hacks.
Like I don't, as an artist, I don't talk shit about others' art. Like, I will never go into a museum. Like, I learned that, from experience. And I don't know, 3-4 years ago, I would go into a museum and be like, I could do that. But nowadays it's like, no, if this artist is in this museum, there's a reason. My artwork's not here. Theirs is. So there must be a reason. But when it comes to this AI art and it's people that are using certain tools to make a picture and then trying to profit from it, it's kind of weird. It's a very weird gray area because there's people that are actually really good digital artists that put hours and hours onto a work. And then you have someone that takes maybe an hour and a couple prompts and then tries to sell it. To me, that's weird.
And the argument can be made that anything can be art. And I'm sure that we go over this again and again from different perspectives and come to an agreement like, yeah, AI art is art. But the thing is, because out of the gate, how it was treated with learning off of stolen artwork.
Yeah.
I mean, you got all kinds of lawsuits
That's
against this
not cool.
stuff. And not just stolen artwork, medical records, the crime scene photos, things that shouldn't have been used for this, for machine learning. No, that's not the appropriate way to do that. What they should have done is they should have licensed artworks and paid artists to, like, hey, and been upfront about what we want to do. We want to take your art and we want to make and develop this thing. Now, my issue is, and you mentioned the core thing that I think a lot of artists are worried about. It's job security in a way. That, now I spent my whole life learning how to do these things and now someone can do it in a few minutes with art. That's definitely a problem, but I think the bigger issue beyond that is, in America at least, there's already a lack of appreciation for the arts.
Big time.
And now you just gave even less reason to appreciate the arts. That's my core problem. The fact that it's using stolen artwork and the fact that it just cheapened artwork even further. And here I have all these talented people around me who now have an even more difficult job of trying to make as an artist because of that. And people, they don't have to agree with that, but that's a fact.
Yeah.
I have seen it with artists individually. I know people that used to do like a lot of show posters and stuff like that. They're doing less of those. The graphic design is where I'm really concerned.
Yeah, I have friends that are like, I'm legitimately worried about my job. I go into Photoshop and this thing does it for me in 5 seconds. It's like, whoa. You know, like I believe that, you know, as an artist, nothing is like completely new. Nothing's completely original. We're all getting inspired from this artist or that artist, and nothing's really completely original. But at least it goes through a vessel that someone has an idea and they create something new. And throughout history, we've seen that art changes and it's about, you know, breaking the rule and changing things. But when it comes to a computer doing all of this and breaking those rules in the art world, I feel like it misses that human touch. Then it's like, wait, so if yes, maybe there's a person doing the clicks and stuff, but is it still like art? You know?
You know what it is? There are too many opinions out there, and it's too easy to hear these opinions because of social media. And the problem, what it comes down to, is that there is not a central union for artists in this country. And because of that, anyone's dumbass opinion can say, oh, well, this is okay. No, it's not okay. Because look what just happened in Hollywood with the writers and the actors. They were facing the exact same thing that the artists are facing, but they had organized unions that fought and said, this is not okay. I mean, one of the things they were trying to do for actors is, especially for background actors, they were going to be scanned. And then in perpetuity, the studio would own their likeness and can reuse them in the background forever.
That's weird.
And never pay them anything. They're like, fuck that. The hell you are. And guess what? They won. The longest SAG actor strike in Hollywood history. They won. Same thing with writers. My friend Mark Malera, episode 5 of this podcast, he told me before we recorded the podcast, before the strike actually happened, and we knew it was coming, I said, so what are these studio executives saying? Are they saying they're going to try to regulate AI when it comes to the writing process? He goes, oh yeah, they told us that. They said, why would we regulate something we plan on using? That's why the strike happened. Now, us artists, we don't have the same thing. I think us as artists, we deal with a lot of bullshit here in the city of Allentown and the Lehigh Valley. One of the things I've talked about to a handful of artists, I don't know if I mentioned it to you, I think we need a union. This is, if you want a mural, you want graphic design, you want this, you want that, this is the base costs. And we need a union that fights for that. Because no one is fighting for these rights. And because of that, I see, especially in the music world in the Lehigh Valley, it is cutthroat. You know, you have like, okay, it's supposed to be this much money per gig. Well, there's a musician that's going to come in and do it way cheaper, and now you offset the balance of what the normal payment should be. So say you should be paying $300, but someone's like, I'll do it for $150. Now that place, say it's a restaurant, they're not going to want to pay someone $300. You just screwed everyone because of that. And now the only option you have is to get the right person in that position, in that place, to think otherwise and go back to do the right thing. And this is a big problem we have. Us right now, us artists, we're on our own.
Yeah.
I don't know of a union. Now, do you see the benefits of us having an organized body that collectively works for the rights of artists, especially in an age of technology?
Yeah, definitely. Because especially in a small town like Allentown, where all of these big projects, big murals and commissions and all of this, it's all artists that are not even local. And I think it's very important that, at least to start, that we have this synergy of artists where we all connect. Because there's a lot of artists out there here that we don't even know each other. It's important that we all work together, you know, as a team, because it's not just about, oh yeah, I want to do that big mural, or I want that big project, or I want to work with that big company. It's like, no, like, let's spread the word out there. Let's make people see that there's good art here. I think it's very important to have places like this where there's shows and there's events and new artists connect. And not only that, but that people see, oh wait, there's good art here in my city, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
Super important.
And you know, what you're describing about the artists kind of working together, I think we finally hit on it this year with the Artist Takeovers.
Yeah.
Right? So what has been your perspective on the Artist Takeovers that we've been able to do so far?
Well, first of all, they're so much fun because, you know, you get to find a whole new people every time, you know? So it's like, oh wow, look at that work, or look at that artist, and it's always something new. It's inspiring because you were constantly feeding off someone else's ideas. And having these events, it's a way to look forward to create also. if you have an event and it's like, oh, it's like next year, you can take your time and maybe not paint as much, but it's like, oh shit, I need to submit a new work next week.
Oh, deadlines are super important for artists.
You're gonna work like your ass off and get it done.
Yeah.
So I think these type of events it's a good way to not only explore yourself as a creative person, but also to connect with others and improve your work.
Yeah. One of the big benefits I would say is, you know, like say you are doing one of those shows, okay, you're probably at that show mostly only meeting other painters or visual artists.
Yeah.
At these artist takeovers, what you got, writers, fashion designers, actors, directors, musicians. It's this wide variety. I've talked to a lot of artists about this, even on this podcast. I feel so often us artists, we get stuck in our heads and we think this thought that we're on our own. I'm the only one out there that's doing this. I'm the only one out there. Like imposter syndrome. Like so many artists talk to me about imposter syndrome. And even I've experienced it in many different ways. Where because maybe there isn't a support structure or that organizing body to help you get to where you need to be, you just think like, first of all, I'm a hack. Second of all, I'm nothing but a dreamer. And this world does not want dreamers to accomplish their dreams for whatever reason. Just business only. You know, like there was this long debate on Facebook the other day that I took part in, which I rarely do these days, but this one I had to. It was going back to the Spotify thing. And this guy was just saying, oh, well, if Spotify doesn't pay bands enough, then you need 15 different places to make money off of as an artist. That bands, if they're serious, they need to treat it like a business. That is the most non-artist shit I've ever heard in my life. First of all, you don't know why that band is making art or music to begin with. So to label all music as one thing...
It's a business.
Yeah. And, you know, I'm sorry, people that treat their art like a business first, I don't take them as serious as an artist. I just don't. Because at some point in their life, at least, the art should have been the most important thing. And then the business angle should come at some point.
Exactly. Yeah, because it comes after, you know, because I do like social media. You know, it's a good way to connect with others.
Absolutely.
But it does have its dark and weird side, you know, because thanks to social media, I've been able to sell my art and send my art to places that I've never even been to or places that I didn't had an idea that existed, you know? So that is great, sure. But to think yourself, I'm going to do art just to sell it to Nike and make a bunch of money out of this, you're not doing it for the right reasons. It can happen, just like NFTs. Like there were people that were making so much money out of these things. I made money out of it, but I didn't go into it as, oh, this is it. No, it was like I did it for fun. I sold a couple things. I made a couple bucks, and it's fun. But yes, of course, with time, you're going to start to sell stuff, and you're going to start to have to print labels, and you're going to have to manage different things in your social media, and you're going to have to print, and it happens. And then, yes, it eventually turns into a small business. And then as it grows, I'm sure it changes. That's not the reason creative people should do what they do.
No, if your motivating goal is to get into the arts to make money, you're just not doing it for the right reasons.
No.
You're not. And I'm sorry, I hate to burst your bubble. First of all, if you're doing it to make money, it's going to take you years to get there.
It's going to take some time, yeah.
It's going to take you years. You got at least 5 years. Let's be honest, 10 years probably until you can like really make it as a full-time artist. I know artists who have gone way longer than 10 years. Amazing artists. Now, unfortunately, I do think a part of it is we're in this area and there aren't as many opportunities for artists to make a living as in other cities. I know I talk about it a lot in this podcast, but it's real and it's getting worse. It's not getting better.
Yeah.
You know, we talked about how artists, how musicians and filmmakers can both be helped and hurt by streaming and digital platforms. And you kind of just touched upon how you as an artist can benefit from social media. Now, is social media enough for you? Like what?
No.
So what else would you need aside from social media to make it as an artist?
I think, like I said before, it's about balance. I don't believe in artists being artists just to do one thing. I don't think that, I'm going to go on TikTok, and I don't do TikTok. You know, I like repost my Instagram stuff there so that certain people can see it.
Sees
but
it, yeah.
I'm not an active member of that.
Yeah.
But I know there's artists that are TikTok artists and they only do it just to be in that part of that conversation, or people that are just active on Instagram just to sell their stuff on Instagram and be with big brands and stuff. And that's cool and that's fine. I believe that that's great, that if it comes to you, opportunities are going to come to you and you decide whether you want them or not. But I believe that intention is like very important with what you create. Because if you're going to paint something because you're passionate about it, and then that passion turns into opportunities, that's completely fine. But if you're doing just social media just to get numbers, which at a point I did, I fell into that rabbit hole.
Sure. I'm sure during the pandemic, especially when you were kind of stuck inside.
Yeah. And when you start to grow and see numbers and a lot of likes, you get obsessed with it.
Yeah, you get that
and
dopamine rush and you need it. Yeah, it's very easy to get hooked on that stuff. And it's like, I love the idea of social media, but for me, it's very tiring trying to use it.
Yeah.
And more, I've focused on the real world, the physical world of my building and the artists I work with and having long conversations. Like, I would rather have 2 or 3 deep conversations with someone than 10 brief conversations with 10 different people. Because I'm just scratching the surface with those 10 people. Maybe I'm getting some interested tidbits or some highlights of certain things, but I'm a big believer that information is not knowledge.
Yeah.
And I think you need to really
not
absorb.
Today.
No. You have so many people that will spout off some facts and act like they know something. Information is not knowledge. Just because those facts are true and you remember them doesn't mean you know how to apply things correctly. And I want to be the best in the world at what I do with helping people because I have people that rely on me. And I don't want to let them down.
Right.
What we do is so important. And we need these people working together because I think without the community, it does become more cutthroat.
Yeah. And it can become lonely too if you're too focused on the digital stuff. Again, you have to balance it and you have to use your tools. So it is fun to have a big platform online and have multiple clients. And, for me, it's opportunity. I didn't originally started doing this because, I want a bunch of followers. No, I do it because it's fun. And then, when you're passionate about what you do, then it shows in your work. And then your work talks for itself. And then, yes, I get to mail stickers everywhere. It's fun to, I get to send, I think last week I sent stickers to, I forgot the country, it's next to Poland. Didn't even register that was a country.
Wow.
Or sell prints to Australia. All of this stuff. It's awesome to use the tools that you're given online. But it's also very important to have art events and connect with your community and show your work, not only to your art community and all of the art snobs. I love showing my artwork. I love when kids walk by and they're like, that looks like fun. Hell yeah, But it's also fun to have someone experience. I think the first event that we did, and I was up there in the studio.
Open house.
Yeah, the open house. That first one, this gentleman, he was like older. He's an experienced artist and he saw my work and he was like, that's really good. How long have you been doing this? And I was like, 3 years. He's like, wow, your skills like way advanced. I appreciate that. But it's also really cool when there's kids passing by when we have events here and they're like, that's so cool.
Yeah, that's so important for us.
I love that.
One of the things is, and maybe it's partially because I grew up in and around this neighborhood, that I didn't want to just have our building here in the neighborhood and we're here and the rest of the neighborhood's outside. I wanted them to be a part of this as much as possible. Now, because there's such a high percentage of rentals here, people are coming and going very quickly, so it's now more difficult to get a lot of the neighborhood involved, but we still have those core components. And yeah, having kids at these events, at music shows and art shows, and yeah, some of them are just wild and rude at first, but when they hang around for a while, they get it. They get it.
They get it. They do. And
they
kids
understand why it's different. I explain to these kids, like, look, you are lucky enough to just happen to live next to this building or behind this building. There isn't another thing like this in Allentown, and most cities don't have something like this. So don't just take this for granted thinking that this is everywhere. This is truly unique. And some of these kids, like, we have seen them completely change as far as their behavior over the years and seen them grow as humans. And to know that for some cases, these aren't even kids who are participating in art, just being exposed to it. Then you see some of those kids that actually start getting serious about art, and those are the ones that really change.
Yeah.
Showing you that you can focus on something, right? So now you have an event coming up. I want you to talk about your art show, what it's about, what your inspiration is behind it, what we can expect.
Yeah, well, it's my first solo show. It's going to be a pop-up exhibition because I'm not going to be like completely alone. We're going to have some guest artists. Confirmed, we have... Okay, so for the event, we have 3 confirmed artists so far. We have Tyler Sky Art, we have Mikey Denora Glass, and we have Rugged Imperfections. We are in the talks with SO Art in Lancaster, PA, to bring a few other artists here. I have pieces there. We're a great place if you're in Lancaster.
Yeah, they've been here. I met them.
SO Art.
They came and toured.
It's a great place, and I have some work displayed there, so we're in the works, maybe bring a few other artists here. But this is like my first big event.
So what's the name of the event?
Sulcus.
And what's the meaning behind that?
So all of my paintings, they always have a lot of motion. They always have a lot of vibrant colors, and you always see this little brain character, which his name is Brian. I just used
Switch the letters, yeah. I like that.
And it all started, a rubber hose style cartoon, and then it developed more. And it all started because one of those days in the pandemic, I was painting and I just started drawing brains. And I've always been fascinated with the way our mind works and how our brains do all of this. And to give myself personality, because I cannot be on the clouds, I cannot be in space, I cannot do all of these things, but he can. So he's kind of like me.
You're living vicariously through him.
Yeah, exactly. So this exhibition is going to be more focused on my emotions. Oh, the name, sorry. The name is Sulcus. So Sulcus is the sulci, the brain, all of those like grooves that you see in the brain. So in the paintings, you're going to see a lot of these waves and shapes. Then in my eyes, they represent not only the sulci sometimes, but also movement and vibrancy and energy and all of this thing. And my nephew sometimes thinks they look like boogers. So there's going to be a lot of that. And usually I tend to gravitate towards happy expressions, and because I'm that type of person. I'm not a sad artist that sits at home and it's like...
No, you're always in a good mood, man. You're always in a good mood. And like sometimes when I see you and I'm stressed and I'm overworked and in a pissy mood, I talk to you for a couple minutes and I feel better. I mean,
thanks.
No, I do mean that. Like, and that is one of the important things I've learned about not living in your head. When you're stressed and you're overly focused on something that's not going well, it's amazing how having a conversation with someone for even a couple minutes can pull you out of that.
Yeah.
Can change that for you. Yeah. And I think that's one of those things where we have to remind ourselves that we're not on our own.
We're not.
And the fact that you took it to this extent that you were given an opportunity to have a solo show.
Yeah, it's awesome.
And you still invited other artists, which I think is amazing.
Yeah, because it's more fun that way, And I always gravitate towards that vibrancy, and I'm always like in a happy mood most of the times. But this time I am going to express more of that other side that sometimes happens because I'm still human, and sometimes I get frustrated and sad and all of these emotions. I'm going to portray more of that. So it's going to be still fun. There's going to be tons of colors, but it's going to be a very emotional experience.
So it sounds like another challenge to yourself.
Yeah, because that's what I try to do creatively. I don't like to stick to one thing, and I don't like to be too comfortable, because if you're too comfortable with something, then you're not going to grow. So for this time...
Yeah, it's easy to get repetitive.
Yeah. There's obviously, things that I like, black backgrounds and certain color palettes, but this one's going to be a little more contemporary. It's going to have repetitive colors. There's going to be a lot of motion. It's going to be fun. Yeah,
awesome, man. And that is on Wednesday, December 13th, 6 to 9 p.m. We had talked about when to do it, and I convinced you to do it during the week. And the reason I thought it was good to do it during the week is, first of all, so much is happening on a weekend that you have to contend with, you have to compete with. And it's December. I want to have more weeknight things going. I love weeknight shows. I love weeknight events, especially like you do a music show, you have 3 bands. People are leaving. They're out the door by like 10 p.m. That's incredible. Because no one's hanging around too long because they know they got to work tomorrow.
Right.
Don't get me wrong. You'll have some people that want to hang out whether they got to work or not.
I'm one of those.
Yeah, so am I. But the majority of the people are just like, all right, I got to go. I got to roll out of here. So I love the fact that we get to do this on a weeknight, and I gave you the option of either doing a full-on solo exhibition, which we can have an opening date and a closing date, and people who buy work the first night, it would remain up until the end of the show, and they would take it with. Or if you wanted to, you could do a pop-up show where it could just be up for one day, and if people bought artwork that day, they could take it with. And you chose the pop-up show. And I liked your reason why, but explain again why you picked the pop-up show over the dedicated solo exhibition.
Because it's not just about me. These events is not just about the one artist. Just like not too long ago, we had the fashion show,
Yeah.
It was not just about the creator.
Which you were a vendor at.
I was vending, and there were a couple artists here, and having that synergy of, oh, okay, there's fashion, but there's music and there's art. And maybe there's people that were exposed to fashion, but were not exposed to fine art that are like, oh, okay, that's fun. Or maybe people that are into fine art that are going to we're going to have different types of artists, So maybe you won't like my stuff as much, but there will be rugs and there will be stained glass and there will be different paintings, different colors, different shapes. There's a little for everyone. And doing something together, more energy, it's more fun, and yeah, we're gonna have a good time.
Yeah.
I'm excited. I'm really excited.
When we first started the Alternative Gallery, we did tons of visual art shows because obviously as an art gallery, it's the main thing we were focused on. And then when we moved into this building and had the opportunity to do more live events and performance-based things, there was a big lack of spaces to do that, especially in Allentown. So we focused a lot on that simply from the amount of requests we were getting to do so. So because of that, I don't want to say we stopped doing art shows because we never stopped doing art shows. Like we would do like an open house, and every open house we did, we tied it in with some kind of opening or closing or group show or solo show in the main gallery. But for me and some of the crew members here, we were not having as many art shows as we wanted to. So we're like, all right, we want to start having more art shows, pop-up art shows, group shows, things like that. So like this is a way to start it off. And I wanted to get you in here because I feel like you've been naturally getting more and more involved here. Even like that fashion show that you were vending at, that wasn't my show. I didn't invite you to be a part of that. You were invited by someone else. So other things keep pulling you into the mix here, which I like. Which, by the way, how was that vending experience?
It was so much fun.
I was so focused on the live show.
I know, you were so busy. You were so busy that day.
It was an amazing event, though.
It was fun. It was great.
So what was it like for you?
So I've always been very creative and, like I said, curious. So I'm into fashion, I'm into sneakers, I'm into music, I'm into, So it was fun to see that part of it. And vending was like one of the most fun experiences I've had vending.
Awesome.
My wife was with me, and I got to sell a few things, but I wasn't even focused on that. I was just like vibing with everyone.
That was a packed house that
good
night, too.
Music. There was a lot of people. We need more of those.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, she did an incredible job putting that together. It's interesting because it's a fashion show. You would expect a lot of pretension to come out of that. No one was douchey or shitty in that way.
No,
everyone was so chill.
Vibing. Yeah.
It was great. Like, now I didn't have one single problem. I've had shows recently where we had like 20 people and I had problems. Here it was over 150 people. Not a single issue. And at the end, everyone's helping me clean up and everything. I'm like, I am not used to this. Usually, especially for like a metal show or certain music shows, people are chucking beers around and all that stuff. And afterwards, you're cleaning up and
then they leave.
Yeah. And then the next day, you're mopping and taking out trash, and or if you have the energy to do it the night after the show. But no, I don't really have that in me to do that at this point. But I'm glad that was a great experience for you.
It was great.
And we want more of these creators to come in and do these types of events.
Yeah, it's super important. And having the Alternative Gallery, it's a great way for any type of artist, any type of creative to have a safe space, a safe house, to be able to feel welcome and feel part of something bigger than they are, And we can't just rely on you, Brandon, all the time. So I think it's also important, like, to whoever's listening, that us artists, we need to hang out, we need to connect, we need to collaborate. And if we start to do all of this, maybe if there were 100 artists like me wanting to do events all the time, I'm sure the city would look at it and say, oh, wait, something's happening here. because it's bringing crowds.
Yeah.
It's bringing people. And of course, when money's involved,
Yeah,
they start to care about it.
I know. It's unfortunately the
It's the world
root
we
of
live
all
in.
things that start to go wrong is chasing the money to too serious of a degree. But I mean, you're right. We do need to have more of these natural gatherings. And I think, and this is why artists should be hanging out, because things come out of it naturally. That's where these events are going to spring from. They're going to collaborate more and more and not be so cutthroat because, like, look, we both want to get to the same place here.
Yeah, we're all in the same
I've
boat.
always viewed the alternative gallery kind of as a launch pad. And I want to help everyone build the rocket ship. And I want that rocket ship to go to wherever it needs to be. Because it seems like no one wants to support that kind of stuff. They don't want you getting off the ground before they do. Who cares when you get off the ground as long as you get off the ground, right? Like, I have for years sidelined my own art and my own work to help others. And in a lot of cases,
Wow.
I don't think it was appreciated. I mean, for the first 5 or 6 years I was running the AG, I didn't get to make a single thing, not a single film. It was depressing. It was soul crushing. And maybe a lot of people didn't realize it, that I was,
You're
an artist
sacrificing
too.
part of yourself. Too.
Yeah. And that's another reason why we don't have lots of shows or shows constantly. I can have shows at the AG 7 days a week. But the amount of people we know, the amount of people that would love to like have a show or even traveling through would like to have a show, we can do events 7 days a week if we wanted to. But what a lot of people don't realize is that the people that run those shows are almost all artists.
Mm-hmm.
So when we have events, we have to stop doing our own art to help other people do theirs, which is fine. We're happy to do so within reason.
Right.
And this is why we need more people coming in. We need more helping hands. We need more people that want to collaborate and have these great events, because in the end, it's not even about bringing the audience. Like, yeah, okay, the fashion show, it was nice we made money and all these people were here, but that wasn't the point. The point was that all these people cared about something enough to come out and to support it, and that everyone was genuinely happy to be there.
Exactly.
And if you keep doing events like that, you just naturally build a scene. You build a community. And then more and more people are going to want to be part of that. And I think why things work here so well for the AG is because we have so many interests. And we try to go after these niche things. Like street art was like super no-no when we started the gallery. Like the city, all kinds of like finer art artists in the area thought we were criminals because we supported graffiti and street art. It's like, look like there's one artist, I'm not going to say his name, he tagged the side of an ambulance. You're an asshole. He got caught. You deserve to get in trouble for that shit.
Come on.
It's one thing you're going to go tag an abandoned building or like something like that. You're tagging an ambulance. Like you're totally out of line there.
No.
Don't associate us trying to support serious street art with that. And that's where they couldn't differentiate between the two. So sometimes we want to do things that support isn't there for, but that no one, like Animation Festival. Jay Echeverria, one of my co-founders here at the AG, Jay and I love animation. We used to just hang out and like literally working in the office, just watching animations, sending each other things. We're both diehard fans of The Simpsons. We love like the old MTV cartoons like The Head and Liquid TV and that whole era, like early and mid 90s Nickelodeon, where it was like really raunchy, raw cartoons, the kids' cartoons that weren't really for kids, but pre-Adult Swim, that's where you had to put it. So they had to find that balance of being raunchy but also for kids because they wouldn't fund anything else.
Right.
Because back then, adult cartoons were considered pornographic. Things like Fritz the Cat, which is like, no, you can have Bob's Burgers and Fritz Cat. Both are adult cartoons, but both are very different.
Yeah.
Like, I know kids that watch Bob's Burgers, but overall, that's not a kid's cartoon just because so much of it is over their head. So speaking of Animation Festival, which we just officially announced today online,
Yes,
aside
sir.
from the few mentions in the podcast, we opened up submissions, and we already got a bunch of films submitted from around the world. I think it's like, let me just check. Let me see how many countries the films are from already.
Damn.
Let's see. So far, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Day one, submissions have only been open for maybe 12 hours, and we already have 3, 4, 5, 7 countries. Films from 7 countries already.
Countries.
That's amazing. So I sent
That's
you
awesome.
a message a few days ago, which we haven't had a chance to talk about further, but I'm going to just bring it up. You're interested in doing the festival poster, aren't you?
Absolutely.
I think
Absolutely.
your art, it is perfectly suited for an animation poster. and you even do a bit of animation yourself and some AR. Talk about some of that.
All of my work is very vibrant and it has a lot of motion, so sometimes it's kind of hard to put it in a still image. So sometimes I try to animate paintings, give them a little more flow. I haven't made a film, but it would be a cool challenge. But yeah, definitely gonna work on that poster. You know, I love animation as well. Toy Story 2, one of my favorite movies of all time. I think it's awesome what Pixar used to do back in the day when they started with Steve Jobs. And, you know, I owe part of what I do to early animation, you know? So
Yeah, they started as a software company.
yeah, that's incredible. You have countries that are submitting for this. That's
I know, an open world animation festival. So we are holding it July 11th to the 14th at the Emmaus Theater. It's going to be an actual theater this time. It's our redo because we were supposed to do this at the Emmaus Theater back in July of 2020. But there was this little thing that made us not be able to do it that put the whole world on standstill there.
But
so
we're here.
We are here, and we are trying to utilize our reach through social media and various artists, and we've built up this really nice little reputation for the animation festival, mostly from animators. It's kind of, you know, aside from our direct audience that's aware of it and has been out to it in the past, which we started here at the Alternative Gallery. We used to project it right on the wall in the main gallery when the set wasn't there, and there's even some photos, if you see online of it, where I liked it because it's like, I'm going to make this comparison even though it's totally inadequate. It's like IMAX, where you have the picture goes from the floor to the ceiling. I love that.
Oh, that's cool.
It's you know, obviously nowhere near as large as IMAX, it's not a 6-story screen, but it's the same concept. It kind of outgrew this space, though, which is why I moved to the theater. And we love the idea of animators flying in or coming in to see these films and enjoy the festival, which even the small ones we had here in the beginning when we just started it here at the AG, animators would fly in some cases from other countries.
Wow.
To come here, little old Allentown, and watch animated films. Everyone that did, it was their first time ever coming to America. And they came here to the AG to watch cartoons.
It's awesome.
So we're like, all right, there is a serious need and desire for this. And we want to take the thing we love and make it an opportunity for those that do it. And I was actually, Jay and I were looking at a list of all the popular animation festivals in the world, top 20 animation festivals dedicated to solely animation. Mm-hmm. How many out of those 20 do you think are in America?
12?
0.
Oh, shit.
0. Out of the top 20 animation festivals worldwide, not one single one is in America.
Damn.
The closest is Canada. So there is not a serious, I don't want to say there's not a serious animation festival in America, because I know they're out there, and I know there are great film festivals that are very serious about animation, but we thought there was a void that needed to be filled, and that's why we wanted to do this.
Wow, that's incredible.
Yeah, and we want to have it at a real theater, so when these filmmakers do come out, it's more of an event, it's more of a real experience, and it's something we can continue to build on.
I love that.
And I'm not going to hide my desires for this animation festival. We plan on, like many other things, taking this on the road. We want to have, like, you know, instead of 4 days, it'll be like a nightly screening, like a one-night thing where we basically go on tour with this block, with these great animated films. I think people will be very responsive to it. It's another way for the Alternative Gallery to meet people and open up resources. I'm a filmmaker. If I'm going to these different theaters and stuff like that with these screenings of incredible work, I'm talking about world-class animation, the best of the best in a lot of cases.
Wow.
These theaters are going to take what we do serious, and me as an artist, as a filmmaker, that's an opportunity for me to potentially show my work there in the future. So that is only one of many, many ways that this can open the door for additional things. It's not just about the screening. Ultimately, you know, we always want to keep the festival. We want to grow it in the number of days. Right now it's only 4. I want to get it closer to 10 because the big festivals are very long like that. But right now, we know what it is. We're growing it. We're not only reestablishing it this year after being on a 3-year hiatus, but we're trying to make it, trying to take it to the next level at the same time.
That's incredible.
But the idea of open world, I also want to have a TV channel at some point where it's just 24 hours like badass animation, like Adult Swim, but open world. So that's where we want this to go.
That's awesome.
And then, of course, every time one of those films is played, it's paying out those animators. So it's yet another way where we not only support artists, but we give them the resources, i.e. money, to hopefully keep making more. So this festival for us is a start of like, next year we're going all out on film. Like the Dusty Can screening we did, we're doing more of that stuff. We want to take that on the road. Animation Festival's coming back. I personally got a bunch of film projects in the works. And I want to see a true film scene emerge in the Lehigh Valley. And I think we have so much potential to be a filmmaking community. And there are so many artists here that can make your posters, design your sets, design your clothing.
Yeah, because it's not just for one. If your community is doing well, even if it's the animation, it brings opportunities for other artists.
Absolutely.
And it's inspiring too.
And I think the reason we run the AG like this is because I wasn't of the art world. I was from the film world. And, film is a collaborative medium. You can't make movies by yourself. I'm sure it can be done, but that's impractical.
Right.
You need actors, you need this, you need that. Like, it's a collaborative medium of art, which is kind of unique outside of things like maybe music. Like, you are mostly creating by yourself.
Right.
Like you're aware enough to go out and talk to artists and share and do things together. But when it comes down to it, a lot of what you do, you're doing on your own.
Yeah, I'm in my office and I'm just sitting by myself and
exactly.
That's it. Maybe my dogs, like they might come in, but
they're your collaborators.
Yeah, but it's a very self experience, and a film. So much stuff happening all at once.
You see the comparison I'm making here, I'm sure, where because I came from that world, it was kind of built in that I was expecting and hoping for collaboration.
Yeah, bringing people together.
Yeah,
and it's paying off because you're bringing all of these artists, and I've noticed like some of these artists are starting to do much better,
and better. I know, and it's so rewarding for me. It's really rewarding for me, and it allows me to happily focus in those moments that I do get to make my own art, focus on my own stuff, because it's like, all right, my work wasn't for nothing. They're better off than they were. This is great. I can rest easy and focus on something else for a minute. But so it seems from what we've talked about, the next step after your pop-up solo show or group show or whatever it's going to end up being ultimately, you're going to potentially be a part of our resident artist program.
Yeah, that's the goal.
So from what conversations you and I have had about the resident artist program, what is that to you? What do you think? What do you take it as?
Well, to me is to be able to have a space, first of all, which is very important. Something my wife told me is it's true. You don't need a big studio to create and make something unique, but it does influence the way that you approach the things that you do. I looked at the building here and I saw the studios. I was like, oh shit, that's what I want. And unfortunately in the area, we don't have many places. So it was either too hard or it's like way out of the budget. You have maybe Banana Factory and that's it. And that's a whole different scene. That's
different style of art.
Yeah.
Different approach.
To have a program like this, it's encouraging because it makes you feel like, okay, it's time for me to take the next step in my career. And it also helps you to be in the area where all of your creativity can keep expanding. Because it's not the same, okay, I paint these 2 canvases and that's my wall. Then, I have this whole room. Again, going back to Sulcus, the mind needs to expand, and the mind, it's a muscle. It's part of our body. It needs to operate. So having a program like that, it definitely helps artists that are either starting or are experienced to keep going, to keep creating. And it's not even if I do well. Other artists are doing great. Like the art scene is going to change, and then my art's going to do well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm glad you're going to be a part of it. And I'm sure, because you actually told me at one point that you had some other artists that you were talking to that were really vibing with what you did and were curious where you were creating because they wanted to be in an environment creating where you were because they thought what you were doing was so similar to them.
Yeah.
Right? So can you expand on that? Like, tell me a little bit about that. Do you think that when you get in here, that's going to bring in other artists that might want to be a part of a place like this?
Yeah, I've had people, online that they'll DM me and be like, holy shit, that painting's incredible. Where's your studio at? Or I want to go look at your work. And, it's like, sorry, I'm I'm at home. Having a place like that where people, having a place where so many different artists and different mediums, somebody might look at my work and be like, oh, so his work is at this place and it has a show and this. I could do the same thing, and maybe inspire someone else to do the same and bring them in, and maybe they do great and collaborate with other artists. That it would be awesome to find someone that does kind of what I do. And I've seen it in other cities. I'm really good friends with this couple. They're at Mad God LA. They are part of this group that they call it Creep Club, I think. And there's a bunch of different artists.
And they're out in LA?
And they're in LA. And they build this studio. And they're all very different. They all do their own things, and they have these events. And it's 5 or 6 artists, they're doing this incredible thing. So why not do the same thing? It's not only the alternative gallery. We could keep building up on this. Build up.
Yeah, and this is precisely why we want to hit the road. Because the folks you just mentioned, I'm planning a trip to LA next year. Like, I'm already pricing plane tickets. I'm trying to find the right day to go. We should be going out there and meeting those people. And that'd be incredible. We should be going out and having art shows, collaborating with them.
And bring them here.
So I'm curious, first of all, have you traveled at all for your artwork?
Oh, no, not yet. No. But everywhere I travel, my art comes with me.
Of course, as it should.
I'm from Mexico, so of course I brought art there. I haven't been able to, because a lot of the stuff I sell, I just pack it, mail it, and there it goes. Having that would be another great way to learn from others. Being an artist it's a privilege to do this. To be able to make, even, I don't do a living out of this yet, but even if I make some money out of it, that's a privilege.
For sure. Do you have interest in going on the road if we do that?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Because that's like so important. Because in my mind, when you having conversations about going to places, in my mind is like we're not going as
an individual artist.
Yeah, it's
a collective.
It's a collective.
Yeah,
and not only to be seen, but to bring people in.
Yes.
How cool would it be? I was listening to the podcast about maybe go to Portland.
Yeah.
How cool? Okay, it sounds great. Let's all go. But how cool? Maybe make a pop-up show where we bring 5 artists and we have local artists and artists from other places. That's incredible.
Precisely the plan. And then on top of that, us going there is one piece of it. The other piece of it is now we invite you to come back to our space. So therefore, of course, we want this space here to be this great tool for local artists, but we don't want to showcase just local art. We want to bring new things into the area. And that's the whole thing. Okay, yes, we're struggling for artists to get what they need here right now. That will change, especially if we keep at it the way we are. So one of the ways that you can combat that is go somewhere else. And in the process, you could bring new things in. And one of the things I've noticed is with the AG is like we try to use social media, not so much to engage with people, but just to get the information out there for those that want to know or those who are interested in. But what we've noticed is people really pay way more attention when the AG is out of town doing stuff. And we're like, this is a thing.
Interesting.
This is a thing. So we want to really focus on that. Like if people love when we go around and do stuff, well, we're already planning on doing more of that. So I guess as far as social media and marketing, it's going to help our efforts here more. So us being in a place like Los Angeles will help indirectly promote things that are still happening here at the building.
Right.
Are there any specific cities you want to hit?
Boston.
That's one of the
such a good place.
That
for
is
art.
one of the places we're talking about going next year. I met some really, really dope people, some artists and some dancers from Boston that we just clicked.
We went to a few museums and I was like, holy shit, this is where my work should be at.
So this is what we're planning right now. I can't tell you if this is going to come to fruition or if every place we go to we're going to have an actual event, but New York for sure. We got to do something in New York. We have to. Boston. I'm definitely getting to LA this coming year rather, even if it's just a trip to, a fact-finding mission as I call it. To go check the lay of the land, meet some people, set some things up. Anywhere where we have connections. A place like Portland, Andy, she's amazing. She was a tenant here who left and came back. She's in Portland, Oregon, like one of the big art centers of America. And she prefers her studio here more than there because of the way we get to do things. Like We know what works and what doesn't work. And now that we have these connections in other cities, we got to take advantage of them.
Definitely. Yeah, because I've had a few artists that I know that are like, whenever you're in LA, just stop by the studio.
I would
be
genuinely
so cool.
start making lists of people that if we did go to these cities, because it's happening. And right now I'm hitting people up. I'm like, all right, like Chris Jones, he's coming to LA with me. He's got to come to LA. He's got the spirit for it. He needs to get back there, and it's going to be a fucking ton of fun. I can't wait to have an LA adventure with Chris Jones. I think you should come out there with us too.
I love LA.
It's how long has it been since you were there?
2 years, I think.
Okay.
2 years, yeah.
How many times have you been out there?
Once.
Oh, just the
that
one time? Just the one time?
But love the place.
Yeah.
Definitely going to New York with you guys.
Yeah.
I love that city.
Yeah.
And why not? Like, I was talking to my family, like, it's time for me to do something in my hometown in Mexico. Like, why not?
Oh, that'd be incredible. That would be so incredible.
Yeah, and again, it's more fun to do it with others than just by myself.
That's another trip we're planning. We want to go to Teotihuacan.
Oh, I love you. You love that place.
I need to get that. I mean, because my childhood was nothing but cartoons and Indiana Jones. So like all these ancient cultures and even so many cartoons back then were like ancient cultures. Like remember DuckTales? How many times were like they in some kind of like old tune or something like that?
Mayan
Mighty
things.
Max. You ever see Mighty Max? It was like Polly Pocket for boys.
No.
They're basically just Indiana Jones but a kid. It was pretty awesome.
Yeah, Teotihuacan. You'll love that place.
I need to get there. I got a great book in the print shop. I'll have to show it to you afterwards.
Yeah,
after we get done
definitely.
recording.
But yeah, I think it's incredible. Not only what you're passionate about, what you're doing here, but what's happening here. I can tell that there's a different energy. I can tell that things are moving. I'm very grateful to have the opportunity to come to these events and meet new people and now have my solo show, work on the poster. That's going to be so much fun. But to see other artists that are coming here that I didn't met before, and their work is great, and it's like you should be part of this too, and it changes people. If we can do that together, it's easier to have 10 people working towards the same goal.
Yeah. I appreciate your words, man. I'm glad that what we do helps you and is some kind of benefit to you that makes it all worthwhile. Even if it's one person, obviously you want it to be a lot more than one.
Right.
But even
That's
if it's at least one, then it's not a total loss, I love what we do. I mean, I wish things progressed a little quicker. I wish there was more support from the people we thought were enacted to help support what we do. But we're past it. We know what things are. We know what we want to do. And we're not going to give up. Because like I said earlier, people have come to depend on stuff like this. And I am not going to let those guys down. I'm not. So one of the things I do want to say is anyone that's listening that might live in another city or even another country, and you think that this is something that you would like to have in your city, or it would be a great collaboration, or you just dig what we do and want to help us out, reach out to, the Art Bazaar, the AG, or even Brandon Dominguez if you already follow him, and say, hey, you got to come to this city for this reason. If there's a certain kind of festival we got to come check out, because this is what artists need. We need to go from place to place to place. The more travel and experienced we are, I just feel the more rounded we're going to be as artists and human beings.
Yeah.
Right?
And the culture and learning and experiencing and getting inspired, because it's a great experience to be part of something. And, I haven't been able to travel with my art, but like I said, my art has been able to travel. I've been able to be part of sticker exhibitions in Madrid, in Spain, in Belgium. And I've been able to connect with so many people outside of where I live. But why not start to connect with the people where I'm from, the people where I live? And if we all do the same, yes, reach out. If you want the alternative gallery in your town, or if you're an artist from somewhere else and you don't have something like this in your town and you want to experience it, like, it's really cool. Like, once you step foot here and you see the building and the studios and the art, it's a great experience.
Thanks, man. And I think we should also be encouraging artists to kind of steal the idea of what we do.
Yeah.
Because every art community needs something like this. Maybe not this large, maybe not organized the way this one is, because you want everything to be custom tailored to what that specific community needs. But that doesn't change the fact that every art community needs something like this.
Yeah.
So steal this idea.
Yeah, because if there's no...
Reach out to us and ask us how we did it. Like, listen to the first podcast episode of Art Bazaar. We talk about it in depth about how all the odds were stacked against us, as they still are, yet here we are. Here we are still doing it.
Yeah.
And you can too. And you doing it helps our artists here, even if we don't even know each other yet.
Exactly. Yeah, because I've had people that's like, oh, I didn't know that was a thing. You know, that are seeing my stories and the location. It's like, oh, I didn't know that was a thing. It's like, yeah, come hang out. It's very, very rewarding to have someone to back you up, you know, to have someone that's like, yeah, this artist is from this city and this is, you know.
Yeah, to know that people are looking out for you, it really allows you to focus on things in a more focused manner.
Yeah.
You know, because the whole idea of the starving artist, like, I hate the idea.
I don't like that either.
No, it's not romantic. It's not productive. It's the exact opposite of productive, rather.
And especially in our times, like...
Oh, the hustle culture, man.
We
you know,
yeah.
And that's what that guy was saying. Like, oh, Spotify doesn't work at 15 things. Dude, we're artists. It's not about hustling.
Right.
It's about taking your time and exploring what you want to create.
Because you got to slow down and sit down and feel what you're feeling and create it. Like, of course, I understand what he means. Like, yeah, do 10 different things, and we kind of do that already. I already have to paint, I have to design my sticker packs, and I have to print labels, and I have to mail this, and I have to send this to this gallery.
Correct.
You know, I'm already doing that.
I know.
But
look at me, I'm fixing a fucking roof right now.
Right.
You know?
And we're having a podcast, and then you have to, you know. So
I did prints, yeah. You know,
so
got to go clean bathrooms later.
It comes with being an artist. You have to be creative, and, you know, I don't think you need to starve to death. You have a job and you're able to do part-time and then do your art after. That's totally fine, you know?
Yeah.
If you're passionate about this, you don't have to suffer to do what you're passionate about it.
Yeah.
If you want to be sad and struggle with this, that to each its own.
Yeah.
But I think we maybe don't have an art community here, but it's time for us to create that community. You know?
Truly establish one. And I think, revisiting the idea again from earlier, maybe there needs to be some kind of union that helps define what artists need and what's unacceptable.
Yeah, someone to look for us.
And if you cross these lines, guess what? No artists are going to work with you. I hate having to do that, but I don't like how things have been going the last couple of years. And I see a lot of my artist friends getting taken advantage of. And they're like, well, I have no other opportunities, so I'm going to eat the shit and just take it. And I'm like, I'm a big believer in staying true to yourself and not having to stoop down and do stuff like that. And let's put people in those situations as infrequently as possible. You're never going to make a perfect world. That's an abstract idea that we just have in our mind, but we can do a hell of a lot better.
We can. Yeah, and it's rough out there for artists, because this artist from the UK, he goes by Super Freak online. Amazing work. He is very pop art. His work was stolen by H&M to make hoodies for kids.
I heard about that. Yeah,
and it's sad, you know, and it's crazy because the graphic designer that works for H&M, he noticed that follows him, and it's like, what the hell, you know?
Yeah, and you know,
there needs to be accountability for that.
Maybe in that case, it might be the designer's fault, but at the same time, a company, any big company like that,
they don't care.
There's no reason you should be ripping them off, because I'm sure most artists in that position would be like, all right, give me like $500 and some free clothes and I'll be happy with it.
Yeah.
And what is $500 to H&M? Now you have a fucking lawsuit.
Mm-hmm.
And now you're considered art thieves.
Yep.
Good luck next time, because any artist is going to be reluctant to work with you, even if you're throwing huge money at them. And then not because you're going to steal their work. It's like, now they look like a sellout working with you.
Yeah.
Who wants to put themselves in that position? It's easy to avoid. And look, artists are used to getting nothing.
Right.
Okay, so give them a little bit of money, and it might go a long way for you. So as a closing thought, I like to kind of always ask, is there any advice you would like to give artists? I mean, I know we've dished out tons already. Any specific advice for someone that was starting that maybe you would have liked to have had when you were first starting? You know, because I love that saying, be the person you needed when you were younger.
I guess I would have tell someone that's starting to not be too fixated on what others do, and don't obsess with media. It's not worth it. Just create because you like it. Create what you are passionate about, whatever it is, whether you think it's good or not. Just believe in yourself, because in the end, you know, if you make a bad painting, you can do it again. If you screw up a design, it's done and over with. You can do it again. But if you believe that you're not worth it or you're not good enough for being an artist, that's kind of hard to fix. So I would just tell everyone that even if you like scrapbooking, or if you like to do sketches, if you like to sing, just do it. Just be creative and always create. That's like my motto. Always create. Like whatever it is that you like. And if you're passionate, just go for it.
That's great advice, and I hope the young artists out there take it to heart, because I think it will get them to wherever they're trying to get. That's where they'll find themselves. Once again, we've been chatting with Brandon Dominguez, Allentown-based artist, and he will be having his solo show, Sulcus, on Wednesday, December 13th, 6 to 9 p.m., right here at the Alternative Gallery. Make sure you like and follow him on Instagram at brandondm.art. You can see not only his digital and his paintings, but some of his motion work too, his animated stuff.
Yeah, there's a few animation there, 3D models, paintings. At brandondm.art on it, well, all of my social media. You know, if you want to buy something, get yourself a sticker, a painting, or a gift, because now it's the holidays.
That's right. Yeah, get someone a unique present and support some art.
brandondmart.com. That's my website.
Sounds great. So make sure you check that out and just keep an eye on Brandon's work, both here at the Alternative Gallery and perhaps around the country coming up in the near future.
Let's do it.
This was a great chat, man.
Thanks, man. Thanks for having me.
This is, you know, we really, I think, delved into some interesting topics and hopefully shared a lot of sage advice for people out there listening. And we are serious about getting out there and visiting your city.
Yeah, reach out to any one of us, because that sounds amazing.
Yeah, absolutely will do. So Brandon Dominguez, I had a great time at the gathering of Brandons here.
Yeah,
we're gonna
two Brandons.
That's right. We're going to have to do it again soon.
See you guys December 13th at the Alternative Gallery.
Yep. So thank you so much, Brandon Dominguez. And thank you, everyone, for listening. Make sure you follow and like and share the Art Bazaar. And if you know any cool creators that you think we should be shining a light on and talking to, let us know. Take care, everyone. See you next time.
See ya.